Call this meeting to order. If everyone could please stand and join us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Trustee Mattson?
Here.
Trustee Scalise?
Here.
Trustee Galuza?
Here.
Trustee Reiser?
Here.
Trustee Christofferson?
Here.
Trustee Wilson is absent. Mayor Balderman?
Here. Okay, first up is our consent agenda, which consists of 8 items. They are the minutes of the regular meeting for January 13th, 2025, Ordinance amending Chapter 106 of the Village Code, massage establishments, second read. Ordinance amending Chapter 22 of the Village Code, massage establishments, second read. Setting a surety for Teerling Lake, Cedar Road, Summerfield Road, off-site utility improvements. Setting of surety for Teerling Lakes Unit 1, annual zoning map adoption, and raffle licenses for 2025 for both Lincoln Way West Music Boosters and Providence Catholic High School. Does any member wish any of those items to be pulled and discussed separately? All right, if not, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by trustee Mattson, second by trustee Scalise. If there's nothing further, roll call vote, please.
Trustee Christofferson?
Aye.
Trustee Galuza?
Aye.
Trustee Scalise?
Aye.
Trustee Reiser?
Aye.
Trustee Mattson?
Aye.
Mayor Balderman?
Aye, motion carries. Okay, first up is consideration of a county special use, new Lenox, Gougar Solar 1 and 2. Robin?
Yes, so this request concerns approximately 75 acres of an overall 142-acre site. On the map here, I've highlighted the overall parcel, and then shaded in is roughly the area that the solar facility is proposing to go. They are proposing 2 phases. Combined, they would have over 22,000 solar arrays. The southern portion, it would be the first phase. So they would be 215 feet from the west property line, because they're not going all the way out to Gougar Road, and then 136 feet from the east property line. The closest occupied building is Starcon, which is across the street on Gougar Road. Then on the north side, they would be just under 600 feet from New Life Church property line and about a quarter mile from residences in Fieldstone, north of Haven Avenue. They are proposing a fence around the entire facility. It will be a PVC fence that was confirmed. There, initially, it was going to be a chain link with slats, but they, based on our comments, have agreed to do a PVC fence. And then there will be landscaping along the outside of the fence. There will be one driveway access that is intended to be gravel. Staff and the Plan Commission are recommending that the village object to the special use request for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's not consistent with our comprehensive plan. Our ordinance and the county's ordinance recommend this for agricultural or industrial uses. While it is zoned agricultural in the county, our future land use plan recommends medium density and single-family residential. Our comprehensive plan also calls, if you look on the right, for the extension of Joliet Highway through this property to ultimately align with Barron's. Over the years, there have been inquiries from parties interested in doing industrial development on this parcel, and the village has stated objections to that. Our concern is that now, with this large solar facility, it would be used as a reason to deviate further from our plan on close to 300 acres that are surrounding this site recommended for residential use. They're also requesting a couple of variances from the county's recently adopted ordinance, which mimics ours. They're requesting that there not be a height limitation for the weeds or the pollinator landscaping that would be planted around the facility, and that they, instead of having to mow it 5 times a year, that be reduced to once. Although the village does not have the authority to review and comment on variances, I think it's important to point that out to you, that they are requesting that relief as well, which we feel is going to make this even more noxious to future residential in the area. I know the petitioner is here, and they would like to talk to you as well.
Petitioner, please just come up and state your name.
Good evening. My name is Stephanie Sinkowski. I'm with Soltage. I'm joined here by Troy Daniels with BL Engineering. Just to give you a quick background on Soltage, we are a community solar developer. We've been around for 20-plus years, and we've built 11 community solar projects in Illinois. We do everything from project development through financing, managing construction, and then owning and operating the asset long-term. I really just wanted to speak to you about some of the benefits of solar today. I know there's limited time here, but at a high level, there is an energy crisis in the U.S. Increased manufacturing and data centers for new tech are raising the demand for electricity. Traditional power plants move electricity through transmission lines that were built in the 60s and 70s, and a lot of them are not capable of handling growing electricity demand. They're very expensive to upgrade, and it's very difficult to build new transmission lines. However, distributed generation, such as this community solar project, utilize the available distribution lines to transport electricity. So these projects are local, and they feed power into the local community, allowing more electricity to be generated without having to upgrade utility lines. So this helps our grid by decreasing reliance on centralized large-scale power plants and that utilize the transmission system, and it provides the local community with a least cost power supply that also helps meet the state's goal of obtaining 40% power from renewable resources by 2030. Community solar allows people and businesses who may not have suitable rooftops for solar to receive renewable energy at a discount to their current electricity bill, and this project will be able to provide enough power for approximately 2,000 homes. This project will pay close to 15 times as much tax revenue as farmland currently does, and it will hardly use any of those services. So the funds will go towards local schools, community colleges, New Lenox Fire District, Will County, New Lenox Community Parks, the local library, Forest Preserve, and the township for improving infrastructure. In addition to taxes, we've committed to providing the New Lenox Fire District with a new ATV upon project construction, and this can be used in the unlikely case of a fire event and on other properties where it may be needed. We've also committed to providing 10 students in the Will County Farm Bureau community with $2,000 each for college scholarships once the projects start construction. And then in terms of the environment, we are proposing native pollinator ground cover that includes species that will grow up to 30 inches in height. And we would maintain these pollinators per the Illinois Solar Site Pollinator Establishment and Management Guidelines, a document which exists from the Illinois Department of Natural Resources. So we're requesting variances in our application to abide by those guidelines, which would allow for the pollinators to establish and thrive. And as you can see, we've got some of the short-term and long-term maintenance management according to those guidelines. Native species like these flowering cover crops, they rebuild topsoil, improve soil structure and stability, and restore nutrients into the soil. This increases biodiversity and promotes habitats and endangered pollinator populations like the monarch butterfly and then other birds and bees as well. And the deep roots on these pollinators reduce stormwater runoff. In the last meeting, one of the commissioners asked if we would take inventory of any wildlife that may be harmed within the solar project's area. While we do not expect any species to be negatively impacted, we are willing to log and report any incidents to the Forest Preserve, who also requested this similar information. This property is zoned to agriculture in unincorporated Will County. The Illinois state siting law allows for solar developments on agricultural land through a special use permit because solar is a temporary use, and the land can be restored to ag after decommissioning. Industrial facilities would not be allowed to be sited on agricultural land unless the property was rezoned. I know this was a concern last meeting. And solar differs from industrial facilities because industrial facilities are designed for manufacturing goods and processes and refining raw materials, resulting in a physical product. And those production processes often have large environmental impacts, and those facilities typically have strict regulations around pollution control and waste byproducts. Solar, on the other hand, does not generate pollution, waste, or physical goods. And this means that there won't be large trucks constantly going in and out of the facility, there won't be increased traffic or loud noises once the project is operational. Apart from monthly maintenance, which typically occurs with pickup trucks or vans, the project will passively generate electricity, making it a quiet neighbor and a good buffer from the industrial zone across the street. Additionally, as mentioned, we're incorporating the full vegetative buffer and solid fence around the entire solar project, so it isn't visible to future close-by developments. Though from some of the photos you can see that we posted, they're actually not nice to look at. They are nice to look at. And then we understand that the village does view residential development as the best use of this property. The landowners could not make the numbers work when they previously tried to develop this parcel into a residential neighborhood, and therefore we believe that solar can be the next best use of the property. In the current use, which is corn and soybean farming, it is needed for food security, but really only 10 to 15% of corn goes towards human food consumption, and even less for soybeans. The remainder goes towards animal feed and biodiesel and ethanol production. And solar can produce over 27 times the amount of electricity than ethanol could on these 58 acres. So it means that solar is a much more efficient use of the land, plus the energy created doesn't produce emissions. And then lastly, we have signed an agricultural impact mitigation agreement with the Illinois Department of Agriculture, where we've committed to maintain the land under and around the solar array so it can be farmed in the future. We're protecting the topsoil, the topography, drainage tiles, and we will completely remove all parts of the project after its life. We're also posting financial assurance with Will County to ensure that the project is removed after its life and the property can be returned to farmland. So in conclusion, I think that community solar projects are really great for every community. By supporting the project, the village is participating in creating much needed local energy, contributing to cleaner air, wildlife ecosystems, and enhancing the local economy. And we would love to partner with the village in any way possible to make this project a success. Thank you.
All right. First of all, thank you both for being here tonight. We appreciate it. Great presentation. Can I ask, Saltage obviously is a big company. Is your position with the company to address local entities and whatnot? Is that what you do for them?
I'm a project developer, so I do everything from working with our landowners to working with the utilities, with local municipalities and counties to gain permits, and then pretty much everything up until the start of construction.
Okay. So you're familiar, obviously, with this site.
Yes.
And you're familiar with the school across the street and all the residential to the east and to the north.
To the north, yes.
Okay, I will tell you, and this is not a knock on solar, I understand the advantages of what you're talking about. This village has been very deliberate in how we've planned our community. You mentioned the Cherry Hill Business Park across the street, where there is some industrial and trucking. We have kept that type of growth to that area. This property owner that you speak of, or at least a property owner over there, I'm assuming it's the same one, Robin, has come to us and wanted to build industrial there. I can appreciate what you're saying, the differences, of course, between solar and industrial type uses. But as Robin pointed out, you're going to be hard pressed to find anybody that's going to want to buy the remainder of that land and build homes like the rest of that community is surrounded by. And then that does lead, because it's still in the county now, the camel's got its nose in the tent, to the county looking at industrial uses. We have a high school there that causes major concern, and we have, as I said, many homes that are there. There's other issues. Of course, the board's going to have an opportunity to speak. I'm certainly hoping, with all due respect, that we file an objection here with the county for many of the reasons that you're aware of. If you were looking to go in another area that wasn't, that didn't have these other factors there, that's a whole nother matter. We're not anti-solar. It's just in this particular area, it really puts our residents and our school up, not your project perhaps per se, but it sets the table for bad things to happen. We have deliberately planned the way that we have planned. Now, you say that the building or that the property owner has said that he's tried to do residential and it doesn't work. I think the last time residential was proposed for that property, I think I was a trustee on the board, or not too much.
I think it was 2004.
Yeah, I was a trustee.
Before
on the board.
Nelson
I've been the
Road
mayor
was
for
built.
18 years. It hasn't been brought to us in over 20 years. So, saying that residential doesn't work, the world has changed a lot in 20 years. So, but it's his land. It's their land. It's their right to try and pursue whatever it is that they have to pursue. But I certainly am going to urge our board to look out for the best interests of our community. And in this particular location, I don't believe that that is the right spot. That being said, in something that has nothing to do with you, you're doing your job, we appreciate you, but I find it ironic that our governor flexes his will and tries to prohibit what county and local governments can do, all while crying about what the federal government is trying to do, and he's going to do what's best for the people of the state of Illinois. But he also thinks he knows what's best for the people of New Lenox and the people of Will County. He's a hypocrite, and he pushes an agenda. It's a political agenda, and that act that you talked about that was passed in January of 23, I believe, is nothing more than an agenda he's pushing for his own political future. And what he is doing is to the detriment of the people in towns like ours and in counties like Will. That is not your problem. I appreciate that. Somebody lobbied him pretty hard, I'm sure, to get, well, didn't really have to push that agenda. But it infuriates me that he picks and chooses when the appropriate level of government should be making those decisions. So you made an excellent presentation. I appreciate that. We certainly, I certainly think there is a time and a place for this type of business, but not in this location. That's my beliefs. Now, I will open it up to the board if you have any questions for our presenters here. Is there anything that anyone else wants to add?
Where are your other solar farms located?
We have a few in Will County, but they're in various counties across the state. We've got some in Stevenson County, Mercer, Fulton. I'm trying to think of one that's a little bit closer by, one close to Pontiac.
Okay.
They're pretty spread out throughout the state.
All right. And I will tell you too, the village spent millions of dollars of our own to put in Nelson Road to the east there, thinking that would have normally been at the landowner's expense when he developed the property. But we put it in, saving him that money because of what we were anticipating would go there, what would naturally go there with a high school when they're surrounded by a high school and residential. So are there any other comments or questions from the board?
You are also installing a very expensive gravity sanitary sewer.
Yes, yeah,
That
an
feeds that
incredibly
property.
expensive one that goes through. So again, please, we thank you very much. We know you have a job to do. You did it very well here, but for a multitude of reasons, not of all of which we've gotten into tonight, I would ask that someone make a motion that we file an objection with the county board on this proposal. Is there a motion to
I'll
that?
make that motion.
Second.
All right, motion by trustee Scalise, second by trustee Mattson. Any other comments or questions? Okay, a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Christopherson?
Aye.
Trustee Mattson?
Aye.
Trustee Galuza?
Aye.
Trustee Scalise?
Aye.
Trustee Riser?
Aye.
Mayor Moore?
Aye, motion carries. Thank you for being here. Okay. Okay, well, this was going to be a Brian evening, but I'm happy to step up. He's got quite a few things. First up is consideration for the approval of a bid award for Route 30 development demolition. As the board is well aware, we've been obtaining properties over there. Kurt and staff have worked with Brian to go out and collect bids for that. There were 14 bids that came in. The Staff is recommending the third lowest bidder, ADM Demolition, to perform the work. They're the lowest responsible bidder in the amount of $114,950. It is budgeted, but it's a little higher than we initially thought it was going to be. But under the circumstances, looking at the bidders, I agree with staff that I think this is the best way to go. Are there any questions for Kurt or myself on that? Kurt, anything you need to add?
No, you covered.
If you need to add any of this, just let me know. All right, if not, is there a motion to approve the bid award?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by trustee Madsen, second by trustee Galuza. If there's nothing further, a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Riser?
Aye.
Trustee Madsen?
Aye.
Trustee Galuza?
Aye.
Trustee Scalise?
Aye.
Trustee Christopherson?
Aye.
Mayor Balderman?
Aye, motion carries. Will, this is also a Brian, but do you want to talk about this one, or do you want me to handle it?
Either way.
All right, I'll handle it. Or Kurt, you can if you want to. Consideration for approval of a proposal, engineering services for Canadian National Quiet Zone. We have to do this every 5 years to keep our status up. The Quiet Zone consists of 6 at-grade crossing. Christopher Burke Engineering's proposal is not to exceed $18,500. Any questions on that? All right, is there a motion to approve the proposal?
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion by trustee Riser, second by trustee Scalise. If there's nothing further, a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Madsen?
Aye.
Trustee Riser?
Aye.
Trustee Galuza?
Aye.
Trustee Scalise?
Aye.
Trustee Christopherson?
Aye.
Mayor Balderman?
Aye, motion carries. All right, thank you. Kurt and Brian very wisely separated these demolition bids. This is for 250 Maple, the old Silver Cross property that we purchased. We do have a contract out to somebody that's looking to purchase that building, and they would certainly do a complete remodel and work with staff on what they need to do outside and with parking and everything else. The low bid on that came from Donegal, and we had 30 days to award the bid. However, under the circumstances, we anticipate this contract to move rather quickly. They have agreed to extend the bid for an additional 45 days, which expires on March 13th, 2025. They also understand that if the property is sold, that we're no longer obligated to award them the bid. Okay, any questions on that? All right, let's need a motion to approve the bid extension for the demolition at 250 East Maple.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by trustee Madsen, second by trustee Scalise. If there's no comments or questions, a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Christopherson?
Aye.
Trustee Galuza?
Aye.
Trustee Scalise?
Aye.
Trustee Riser?
Aye.
Trustee Madsen?
Aye.
Mayor Balderman?
Hi, next up, we have consideration for approval of resolution authorizing the execution of an intergovernmental agreement with Illinois Department of Transportation to waive the tap-on fees for 1400 West Maple Street. In exchange for waiving those tap-on fees, they're gonna plow some of our streets. Is that just an area over there?
Yeah, they
Kurt?
have, it's actually spelled out. It's from the area from their maintenance yard all the way through the frontage road, through to Grote,
Great.
back out to Route
It's also,
30. So they would,
it's also dashed on the slide up
Or
there,
it's
if you can
dashed
see
on
the
that line
up
there.
dash.
Wonderful, there you go. Okay, so you're all familiar with that maybe you're not, because if you didn't know, it was back there hiding behind the movie theater. There's an IDOT shed back there, maintenance shed. And so, what would the tap-on fees have? I mean, we
it was
typically.
it was a 2-inch line. I'm trying to think what a 2-inch line would have cost.
It's a pretty
if we
good
had
deal
it.
for us to have them plow our streets over there.
Yes, well, it's a good
area.
deal.
All right, makes sense. Any questions on that for Kurt?
Who was plowing them before?
It was kind of a mixture.
They were doing some, and we were doing some of the Nelson portion at least. So we're,
But they're picking up all that stuff that leads from theirs back
yeah, so
around.
it's a more formal agreement, whereas it was just, they kind of did it.
The only thing that I would say, obviously, IDOT's got a lot of road they have to cover, but nobody competes with our snow plowing. And I just don't want this to be, because that takes it down Nelson to Haven.
Yeah,
I don't want to have a problem where that doesn't get plowed.
And you're right, the one thing, they will have to continuously go back and get salt and what have you, so.
They're just gonna
coming-
drop a plow
They're
or
not, yeah,
drop a
they'll drop a
blade.
plow, they have to go back and forth, you're absolutely right, but because they'll have to go back to that yard so often, it may be multiple different plows, it won't be, it won't be
No.
just one.
That's okay. It's just that I know we all know, and again, I'm not criticizing them, their job is different, I mean, their routes are different, but we all come through town, but Route 30 is not plowed when our streets are plowed. And we've got a lot going on over there. I mean, we've got,
We'll continue to monitor it.
if we have to drop a
As
plow
of
and
now,
deal with them,
yeah.
we will.
Right.
But I think we really need to emphasize to them that that has to be done regularly and early, because as you know, you've got your crew out there. By the time most people are up and moving, the streets are plowed. That's a big street to not have done. So if we have to drop a blade, we will, but hopefully we
Yeah,
don't.
we'll continue to keep our eye on it,
Perfect.
do what we need to do.
All right, any questions for Mark or Kurt on that? No? All right, is there a motion to approve the resolution authorizing the intergovernmental agreement with IDOT?
So moved. Second.
Motion by trustee Galuza, second by trustee Christopherson. If there's nothing further, a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Christopherson?
Aye.
Trustee Mattson?
Aye.
Trustee Galuza?
Aye.
Trustee Scalise?
Aye.
Trustee Riser?
Aye.
Mayor Baldwin?
Aye, motion carries. Next up is consideration for approval of a resolution for a lease agreement with Perry Weather for the Crossroads Sports Complex. Kurt, this is just for the weather warning system that's up there. Go ahead, you want to talk
Correct.
about
No,
that?
it's exactly, we've looked at other ones that are in the market. We know we have issues with some that we've used in the past.
Right.
This has been used by a number of places that have outdoor events. And one, it's not as overly sensitive as some other ones, but also gives a lot of heads up to, not only to ourselves, but makes it available to anyone who's using the park.
Oh, great.
And then this is just a 3-year lease, so
Okay.
it doesn't lock us into that equipment. And it's just others who've used it with the other major equipment that's out there have gone in this direction.
They've recommended. All right, great. That's for an annual cost of $4,600. Any questions for Kurt on that? All right, is there a motion to approve the resolution for the lease agreement with Perry Weather?
So moved.
Motion by trustee Scalise, second by trustee Christopherson. All right, if there's nothing further, a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Riser?
Aye.
Trustee Mattson?
Aye.
Trustee Galuza?
Aye.
Trustee Scalise?
Aye.
Trustee Christopherson?
Aye.
Mayor Baldwin?
Aye, motion carries. All right, Mark wants to buy a line scrubber for the Crossroads Sports Complex. Tell us about it, Mark.
You're on such a roll, I was gonna let you handle this one too.
I was going to, but go ahead. I'm just assuming that it's to get the lines off for changing this.
So yeah, this piece of equipment will
Yeah.
scrub the lines off the fields. That's basically what it does and what it is. But there is a 4 to 6, there are 3 to 4 month lead time on this, so we want to get it now. So it's
Yeah.
up and running by the time the fields are open, so I'm asking for approval of the purchase.
All right, now we need to waive formal bidding. This is the best company or?
This
what's
is, Sports Facilities has used this in a number of different sites, and they recommend this is the piece of equipment they've had the most success with.
Well, I mean, that's why we hired to provide that. All right, if there aren't any questions for Mark, I'll need a motion to waive the formal bid process.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All right, motion by trustee Scalise, second by trustee Mattson. If there's nothing further, a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Riser?
Aye.
Trustee Mattson?
Aye.
Trustee Galuza?
Aye.
Trustee Scalise?
Aye.
Trustee Christopherson?
Aye.
Mayor Baldwin?
Aye, motion carries. Now I need a motion to approve the purchase.
So moved.
Second.
And that's in the amount of $40,715.75. Motion by trustee Scalise, second by trustee Christopherson. If there's nothing further, a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Christopherson?
Aye.
Trustee Scalise?
Aye.
Trustee Galuza?
Aye.
Trustee Mattson?
Aye.
Trustee Riser?
Aye.
Mayor Baldwin?
Aye, motion carries. Okay, next up is consideration for approval of contract extension for Village Hall janitorial services, Mark.
Yeah, so our original contract ran 3 years, and it was up in 2023. We had a couple one-year renewals. This would have been the last one-year renewal. However, Emmerich said they couldn't continue doing it for the cost from 2020. So I asked them to give me a proposal, which they did. They have to raise their fees a little bit, but it would be good for 3 years. We've had mixed success with other companies at other buildings. We're very happy with the work Emmerich has done, not only here, but also at the museum. Their performance hasn't dropped in either place, taking on another building. So we're recommending waiving the bid process and agreeing to the 3-year contract.
Yeah, Kurt and I talked about this, and Mark's right. We've been with others. These buildings are too big and there's too many people using them to not have it done properly. And I think they do an excellent job. So any questions for Mark on that? All right, is there a motion to waive the formal bid process?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by trustee Riser, second by trustee Christopherson. If there's nothing further, a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Christopherson.
Aye.
Trustee Mattson.
Aye.
Trustee Galuza.
Aye.
Trustee Scalise.
Aye.
Trustee Riser.
Aye.
Mayor Balderman.
Aye, motion carries. Now, is there a motion to approve the contract with Emmerich?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by trustee Riser, second by trustee Scalise. If there's nothing further, a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Riser.
Aye.
Trustee Scalise.
Aye.
Trustee Galuza.
Aye.
Trustee Mattson.
Aye.
Trustee Christopherson.
Aye.
Mayor Balderman.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, next up, we have consideration for approval proposal for a topographic survey Forest Street drainage. Mark?
Yeah, over the last few years, we've improved the drainage going from Wood Street, and then it kind of wraps through to Forest and ends up on Elm Drive. We've improved everything up to Forest. Now we want to do that last section between Forest and Elm Drive. The first step in this is a topographic survey. Christopher Burke Engineering has agreed to do this for an amount to not exceed $34,890. At this time, staff recommends accepting that proposal.
All right, any questions for Mark? Okay, is there a motion to approve the proposal?
So moved. Second.
Motion by trustee Galuza, second by trustee Scalise. If there's nothing further, a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Christopherson.
Aye.
Trustee Galuza.
Aye.
Trustee Scalise.
Aye.
Trustee Riser.
Aye.
Trustee Mattson.
Aye.
Mayor Balderman.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, next up is a consideration for approval of a resolution authorizing the execution of an intergovernmental agreement with Will County for Gougar Road in Haven. We've had one with them since 2008. It is good to see that they're wanting to do a work on Gougar Road from Laraway to Francis. It certainly needs it. And in order to be the ones that I'm sure can apply for this, they need to control that intersection there at Haven and Gougar, which is currently under the agreement that it's ours, but that would just be transferring that jurisdiction to them as far as being able to apply for that, correct?
And the added, the ability to have a signal interconnect between the lights is a benefit for all the drivers in the area.
Yeah, I'm gonna be curious to see what they do with that bridge. That's, it's gonna be really interesting, but it's certainly something that needs to be done. Gougar is just a problem all the way down the line there, so that's good. I don't think we don't have any problem with that at all. There's no increase in any cost to us. So, any questions for staff on that? Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved. Second.
Motion by trustee Scalise, second by trustee Christopherson. If there's nothing further, do a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Christopherson.
Aye.
Trustee Mattson.
Aye.
Trustee Galuza.
Aye.
Trustee Scalise.
Aye.
Trustee Riser.
Aye.
Mayor Balderman.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, next up, we have consideration of an ordinance authorizing the installation of a stop sign, Prairie Ridge Way and Primrose Street. Also, a separate for a stop sign at Otto and Hancock Drive, Liberty Lane, and a third for a stop sign at Otto and Ogden. These are all first reads. Will, you want to talk about them one at a time?
Sure. They kind of all very similar. We had residents in those neighborhoods. The first one obviously in Prairie Ridge, and then the other two in Liberty Square that had reached out to staff requesting stop signs in those areas. PTAB met, Parking and Traffic Advisory Board met with the residents and looked at those areas of concern. Those areas are close to pretty significant turns or grade changes. That one up there was the first one, Primrose. Thanks, Robin. Sorry. Pretty significant curve there. So looking at that, PTAB recommended approval of installing a stop sign there. The next ones are both kind of in line on Otto there, and similarly difficult vision for seeing those with placement of houses, and if there's cars on those streets, Otto is a pretty straight long drive there at first, and then has some curves in the end. So both of those spots, PTAB recommended approving stop sign installation there.
All right, any questions for Will on that? You know, I'll tell you that we've had this conversation over the years many times. Stop signs are not always the answer. It's really rare that PTAB even meets to address these issues and bring them here. But there are times where it makes sense, whether the warrants meet them or not. Clearly, I think the case has been made here.
Correct.
So, but it's not often. When's the last time PTAB looked at a stop sign thing to bring to us?
There's been a couple that are close to parks and things of that nature where we've had a few of them.
been a
But yeah, I
long
mean,
time.
In my time, there's probably, on one hand, I can count, and this is 3 of them.
Right,
That
yeah.
we've come to you and said, yeah, these meet warrants and they're not warrants, but meet the criteria for one.
And the people who live in the areas there, I mean, this is not a surprise to.
Correct, yeah.
So there they've signed
The
things.
the residents that I've spoke with are sort of the mouthpiece for another group of residents there that all have very similar concerns.
Right, and that's obviously important, because if you get one person that says they want the stop sign and we go and we say, okay, and then there's 30 people who didn't want it, that's a
Yeah.
problem, but.
Correct.
All right, very good. Any
Yep.
questions for Will on that? No? All right, we will bring those 3 back then. I don't know if they would normally go under consent or not.
We have typically brought
On the
under
second
consent.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that everyone in the area knows what's happening, but yeah.
We can
you
do
could
it
put
however you want.
No, you could put it on consent, and if anyone comes,
Okay.
we can pull it. So,
Okay.
all right,
From what I've heard, they'd be coming to clap and.
to say that,
be
okay,
very
well,
happy.
that's okay, that's good, all right. All right, very good. All right, next, we have consideration for approval, of proposal for building code update for HR Green. We're currently at the 2018 International Codes. This is looking at the 2024 International Code. David unfortunately is not feeling well, he's not here tonight. The cost is not to exceed $30,000. Robin, can you talk about this a little bit?
Yes, so historically, the village has looked to adopt the new building code every 6 years. So we are coming up to that between the 2018 that we're currently operating on to the 2024. The consultant would look at the 2024 code, compare it to the 2018, and advise staff on the major changes. They'll also be looking at all of our local amendments to see which ones are still relevant, or whether they're either in conflict or now in compliance with the 2024 code. I did kind of look at what other communities around us are operating under, and it's all over the place. Frankfurt is still on the 2012. Lockport and Homer Glen are on the 2015. Mokina is 2018, same as us, and Manhattan adopted the 2021 last year. So we would be the first in our area to go with the 2024. This was a recommendation coming out of our ISO rating that the village does with the fire district, on the fact that we were so outdated on the overall codes counted against us. So once we go through this process, that would help us, help everybody.
We highlight, as we always highlight back to you and the board, what changes those would be and which ones you feel comfortable with going forward. Typically, those would all be spelled out as this process.
Okay, now I know why you're here, but sorry, I got you done. I would have got you done earlier. But to talk about that, if other communities in our area are at 2012, is their ISO rating horrible?
That
I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, it is.
It is one of the factors that they look at to make sure that you're closer to, how much of a factor it is, I know it is in the insurance ratings that you get for the ISO factor. I know it is something that they look as a factor.
All
They
right,
looked at
Brian,
numerous.
you're in this arena.
Yeah.
Can you lend a little your experience
Yeah,
and your expertise to this?
Yeah, I did take a look at some of the surrounding communities too, and yeah, it's all over the map.
Right.
And my experience is that there's always a gap between the latest and greatest code that is out there compared to the adopted code in most municipalities. And a lot of that, I think, from my experience, has to do with the fact that it allows the rest of the industry to kind of play catch-up, to learn the new codes, for architects and engineers to be able to decipher the differences, and be able to begin to design with those new codes, and that takes time. I looked around and I can't find anybody with the 2024 code. I talked to an architect that we have on staff, as well as a few others that we subcontract out to in our company, and they have yet to even crack the book open yet on the code, because there's just so few municipalities that have adopted it. So that would be my only concern, because you could be kind of shooting yourself in the foot a little bit, especially when it comes to, if you're a developer. Generally, in our industry, when you see codes, whether it be 2018 to 2021 to 2024, it's associated with extra costs, because there's additional requirements that are put into those codes, which equal greater cost generally. Not a lot of the time, but if I'm a developer and I'm looking at new Lenox compared to a neighboring town, and I look on our website and I see that we adopted the 24 code and our neighboring town has 18, I'm taking that into account.
Or 12.
Yeah, well, I looked, here's one for you, Crete, 2003.
Well,
And I don't think that's a good thing.
here's the thing, and this is the beauty of having this board, is that everyone has different areas of expertise, and certainly I would say you may be the newest board member, but of the 7 of us that are up here, you know far more about it than the rest of us. We always pride ourselves on making sure that quality is being built and that we're doing the right thing. But there have been times over the years, not often, because staff does a great job of working with developers, where I don't know that we really have an answer for why we're doing something other than that's what we were doing, and it does complicate. Again, because we have a talented staff and they work with developers. But this is a town, unlike some of our neighbors maybe who are kind of landlocked and done, they should be the ones adopting the codes. We've got a lot of growth left here. Now, I can't say from any experience that if we adopt the 2024 code, that it's going to impact development, potentially impact development. But the fact that we have a trustee who's in the business, who's knowledgeable, who says that we should at least pause to have a conversation about it, gives me pause. I understand why staff would want to do that. Again, we've got a great staff. I am a big believer in staff's recommendations. We've got a talented staff. I'm not a planner. I'm not an engineer. So I love having those people. But I almost think, and Kurt, you brought up something. Do you have to adopt the whole code?
No,
or you
it's
adopt
one
it?
thing, and
That's what
actually,
I'm
they were
saying.
excellent points brought up by Trustee Reiser.
Yeah.
I think you want to be on the cutting edge, not on the bleeding edge. You don't want to get so
All
far
right.
out there that you make yourself a pariah to builders. I think if we're looking at this, we've also, a couple different things. One is we've looked at it. We've brought the differences back to the board and made sure, are you okay with these differences? The other part of it, there's always been a lag time before adoption. We don't put it in one day and say, everything from this point forward. We give a heads up to the building community and say, these are the differences, these are spelled out, and we'll give you time to, depending on when the review was finished, we would give a lag time to make sure that for the very good reasons that Trustee Reiser said, you don't want to put yourself as an impediment.
Is there a way to find out what kind of hit we would take on the ISO?
And, well, we could take a look at two things. One is to see, part of the review is to look and see what are the differences.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
prior to that, we could pause this if you want and find out. There's so many different factors in an ISO. I don't know what this particular one is.
It'd be nice to get a feeling for it to where we save that $30,000 and we're not spending 30 grand to find that out, you know?
No,
Sure.
I agree, and I would also say we just had a builder developer meeting, well attended. Staff put together a great event. It wouldn't be the first time that we've sat with some people from that area, in that arena rather, and I would like Brian to be a part of that as well, to maybe kind of look at that code and go through the things that maybe we want to adopt and not adopt, because they're looking at it with a different lens than staff were. Now, we also know some of the people that are there would love to be back in the 1988 code, because it'd be a heck of a lot easier. But I think we have good relationships with our building community. We have a trustee with some experience. Robin, you know some of the people that you can get some honest feedback from, ones that are realistic. So maybe with David, we can set something up. I'm assuming it's a massive code, but if we kind of looked at the things that we think make sense and talk to some of our people in the building community, just to get their input. I think, number one, they'd appreciate it.
And we could be able to get, usually they'll have a typical of what have they've seen.
Yeah.
What are they looking in, what are the changes? We could start to get, but it was more.
Right, and that's what this is. This isn't obligating us to adopt anything. It is educating us and you as to what those changes are.
But it's $30,000 to
Right.
do that?
It's, have you?
Well, we
have you
could
seen
do
the
two
code?
things.
I'm not saying it's not. I mean, I'm asking.
That was my
I think that was a
question.
good
Is the
point. We could
30,000
do both things. We could
to
take a
research
look
or
and
to
see what we
adopt?
hear
To
in
research.
the industry, what those are, but we could also see, we could get a better answer on what the impact on the ice.
All right, why don't we do that? Why don't we just take a minute, just pause on this. We may be back here at the next meeting approving this. So, but.
We're ahead of
there's
many of our
enough-
neighbors.
What's that?
We're ahead of many of our neighbors, it sounds
Well,
like.
I'm okay with that.
We
I mean,
usually
no, I
are,
mean,
and then they
no, even-
follow us.
Oh, yeah,
I meant with the
yeah,
existing one.
yeah, well, we could probably wait a decade and still be it. So, but there's, again, and I know David would know this. This has nothing to do with thinking that he's recommending something he should be recommending. It's just, there's no harm in taking a couple weeks and fleshing this out a little bit more, and then seeing what's the next best step, whether it is doing this, or can we get enough information where we can see if it's worthwhile to move forward. Again, I've just shared all the knowledge I have on it, which is none. So if we could do that, I.
Sure. No, I think that's a reasonable request. And even, I think in the best case scenario, the review of this, the fastest it would have been is, it would have been a 24 code adopted in 26, used in 26.
Right.
So there was a little lag, but I think it's a very reasonable request to
Yeah.
get the information for the board to make the right decision.
Yeah, and like I said, we might come back with the same thing on the agenda, but,
I think it really comes down to, if we could know, which I understand we may not be able to quantify it, but the ISO, I look at, like, the state of Indiana, the entire state's on 2012, and I don't want to compare myself to states either, but,
no, but our neighbors, like you said, are even far
Right,
behind
right.
us. So I can't imagine if they're having that big of a, I mean, we've got, and I know the fire is only one part of that, and the insurance, but we've got active, so do they, have very active fire members, and I'm sure if there was some major issue, they'd be at their boards, and maybe they have, I don't know, saying, hey, you need to adopt another, a more recent code.
Yeah.
But let's just do it at this. Now, Chris, under the circumstances that it's on the agenda, but if we table, it's got to come back, right? It's
You just pull it from the agenda.
just pull it?
Put it on there, right?
All right, why don't we do that then? Is that okay with the board? All right? All right, then that's what we'll do. Thank you, I appreciate that. All right. Under reports and communications, we don't have, as we all know, we don't have a lot of serious crime. It does come up every once in a while. Matter of fact, the last couple of crimes we had that were pretty serious had nothing to do with our town. It was criminals driving on 355 and jumping out of their car and going down the embankment into our town. So nothing, and then committing crime when they're here. So speaking of board members with experience, with 22 years of law enforcement experience and having dealt with a number of violent crimes, I have to say that I am so incredibly impressed with our police department. There was, once again, a crime with essentially no leads, And it was, 3 people that went into a gas station and hopped over the counter and stole some stuff. But it was threatening. It was robbery. Wearing masks. And our police department has already, has one in custody and is working on the other 2. Has great information on working on the other 2. And for a community that doesn't have a lot of violent crime, our police department really does a phenomenal job. These criminals, alleged criminals, committed these crimes in 3 other communities as well. And not knocking any other town or any other police department, but it seems quite often that when we are making an arrest of something, it's with a group that has committed crimes in several other towns, but it's our department that's getting it done. And they did go into the city, and Chicago was phenomenal in working with them, and I worked with CPD many, many times. They are great partners in law enforcement to suburban communities. But yes, our detectives are phenomenal with what they do, but the truth is in law enforcement, if the first officer on the scene isn't doing a great job and getting information, the detectives don't have anything to work on. So it is our department top to bottom that really does a great job. And so congratulations to them once again, just keeping us safe. We do have obviously an incredible fire department, a great police department, our emergency services. I was at an event with them the other day, our CERT, just everywhere, all the way around. I look and see what's happening in other communities, and there's a lot of push and pull and some dissension amongst the different groups that are in the towns, the different governing bodies. Excuse me. That doesn't happen here. Everyone works so well and at such a high professional level. Even talking about the snow plowing, I'm concerned about a street because nobody does it as well as us. Nobody does. I don't care who they are. I don't care how good they are. They're going to be second to us. And so congratulations to them, but to all of our staff. This is an amazing place to be able to represent the people. And I've said it many times and I'll say it many more times. You do make our job much, much, much easier, Kurt, in every department with what everyone does. So thank you for that. I won't go on too much further with this solar stuff, but it really, it does bother me. We work well with the county. When we file an objection, it requires a supermajority. Well,
Not in this case.
well, I thought, actually, I talked to somebody else today who said it did, so it doesn't.
Not on a special
Well,
use zone, and
not
a
as-
zoning.
well, we need to be over there arguing this before. Robin has gone over on our behalf on some other issues, but there's so much here. This truly changes the complexion, what I said we were trying to do. And for those of you who've been with me for the 18 years I've been mayor, I do not pick political sides when I'm talking. But I'll tell you, I've just about had it with this guy and his hypocrisy. And the stuff that he pushes through in Springfield because he is bought through political contributions, everyone from representatives, senators, attorney generals, Supreme Court justices, his contributions to them are just ridiculous, unethical in my opinion. To just say, this is what I want in Illinois and this is what I'm going to do. Including what he's talked about recently with ICE and with Homeland Security, trying to tell every local unit of government what they can and cannot do. And it's all politics. It has nothing to do with what's in the best interest of our state. And I would say, again, from my own opinion, because he is forcing on this ICE issue his agenda and constantly poking the bear, the people he's claiming to wanting to protect, he's just stoking the ire of the federal government and making our state a target. Because they're going to get into a match about who's going to win here. It's just politics at its worst. And you start getting above these little local levels of government, and it's no longer about governing, it's about agendas. So I today, ironically, spoke to a Republican county leader, I spoke to a Democrat county leader, and I spoke to the county executive who's a Democrat. And I have a good working relationship with all of them and talked about a few different issues. They ought to just leave the governing to the people that want to govern. They want to screw up the state of Illinois and screw up Washington, let them. The reality is, when I meet with kids, and I meet with kids all the time, including I had a little brownie troop that was cute here today, but when I talk to kids or adults, I tell them this is where it's at. This is where you need to pay attention, because we are the ones that are impacting their lives every day. Not in Springfield and not in Washington, unless they're imposing their will on us here. We don't need their help. It's a toss-up between what's the worst-run government in the country, the state of Illinois or Washington, D.C. I can assure you it's not the village of New Lenox. So stay out of our business and let us take care of our residents and provide those services. We will fight that fight forever, but the hypocrisy is just ridiculous. On this solar issue, the state is doing everything they can to take away any say that counties or local municipalities have. Because it's pushing an environmental agenda. So, that's all I've got. If there is nothing for me, village attorney, thank you. Village administrator?
I just want to thank you and the board. Oftentimes, our job is, as you said, is to provide advice on the different issues. And I know you and the board always take our recommendations and you consider them. This is your community. We are trying to do the best we can for your community. But everybody brings their special talents. So we are glad to see when there is questions and things of what we do. And if the accusation this evening was we were overly efficient, we'll take that and move on and continue to do that. But we greatly appreciate how you and the board at least consider the opinion of the staff. That's what we're here to do, is to make a recommendation.
Yeah, thank you. And I can tell you, again, Robin, we're reminiscing, but I sat up at the dais in a different building in 2001 when a trustee said, I don't need those blue sheets, I don't want staff recommendations. And I said, well, I do. Because I don't know what they know about these different areas. And as you can see, 24 years later, there's still blue sheets here. And there's a reason for that. So I have not, very, very seldom have I disagreed with staff in the 20-some years, but I've never felt like staff was giving us a bad recommendation. And this is an example tonight. I don't think this is a bad recommendation. I just think we have to have some conversation.
It's good questions.
Yeah,
Good
great
questions that has to be reviewed.
Great questions. So, all right, thank you, Kurt. If there's nothing else, payroll and disbursements, trustee Manson?
Yes, sir. I make the motion to approve our bi-monthly disbursements in the amount of $225,671.98. In addition to the disbursements, approval is needed for the payroll in the amount of $514,467.24 paid on January 24th, 2025, and that would be the form of.
And I will second that.
Okay, motion has been properly moved and seconded. Any comments or questions? Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Mattson?
Aye.
Trustee Riser?
Aye.
Trustee Galuza?
Aye.
Trustee Scalise?
Aye.
Trustee Christopherson?
Aye.
Mayor Bogerman?
Aye, motion carries. Anything else, Keith?
No, sir.
All right, thank you. Questions or comments from the floor? Sir, please come up and just state your name.
Thanks for letting me talk, Mayor.
Of course,
and
yes, sir.
council.
Sorry we kept you so long.
It's okay. I find it very interesting,
Good.
you know. I have a question. I'm here, I live in Grand Prairie, and I'm on our HOA board. And
Thankless job.
I get sometimes. They warned me, you know, got the phone ringing. But, and I just want to say, I moved to New Lenox, not knowing I'd be in Grand Prairie, but my mother-in-law lives there, and so we got hindsight on when it was available. And it was a nice move. And on my bucket list, as you were complimenting the snow plowing, was to get my street plowed in a timely manner. I moved from Chicago, which they don't do residential streets until the main arteries are done.
Right.
And then when they do, there's so many cars that they only do the middle.
And lawn chairs.
And lawn chairs. I've never done that
Right.
in my 61 years of living in the city.
Yes.
I park in a garage when I can.
Yes.
But my question is, in the last snowfall, I think we had a weekend, we had 7 mailboxes wiped out. Mine being one of them, but I fielded a lot of phone calls. And the services came out and they put a Band-Aid on everybody so they could get mail. And they mentioned that, and this was brought up to me by the neighbors have heard it too, there's a set fee that you get. And I wanted to just bring it up, and I'm not complaining, I just don't know how they came about this amount.
Sure.
Because I just replaced my mailbox in the fall. I waited all these years for it to get whacked, and they waited until I put a new one up. But anyway, those mailboxes cost between $50 and $60 at any of the home improvement stores. Our neighbor had one put in, and he had Ace Handyman Services do it, well, right here in town, and because he didn't know of anybody else. $350 to install it.
Wow.
He had already bought in his mailbox. And I checked with a landscaper, and they want the same, $300 to $350. The $140 or whatever the fee is that they're going to get
Was
isn't
it
quite going to cut.
150? Is that what it is?
We've had it for a while. We haven't
So
looked at
we
it a
need
little
to
bit.
look at it.
We
That's
are,
something.
we plan on looking at it.
I mean,
this year.
We just had a
Just want to
discussion
wait
the
till
other
after
day.
winter's over, you wiped out a few more mailboxes.
so anyway.
No, that's fair.
I just thought it was kind of funny. I was having coffee that morning, and I'm looking, and a snowplow came by for like a second time while I was reading the paper and everything else, because my house faces this, the kitchen faces the street. And I'm like, wait a minute. I thought I had a mailbox. But anyway, I just wanted to bring that up.
No, it's a good point. I'm glad you
It's a good
did.
point.
We can look at it.
And I
see.
wouldn't have known if I hadn't replaced mine and my mother-in-law's, because they were, after 25 years, they're starting to get a little
Sure.
rotted, you know, and then they're not easy to replace because you usually, if it breaks, you can't use that same hole. You got to put it next to it. So anyway, I just thought I'd bring it up to the council. My other question is on behalf of my wife who works at Cooper's Hawk.
Yeah.
Of course, I go to LA Fitness in the same area. That light, I know it's probably the county, but that light has the shortest arrow in the world. You sit there, if you're going eastbound and you're waiting, you cannot make that light, okay? You could, and sometimes if you're the fifth car in line, you don't make the arrow.
On 30, you mean?
On 30, making a left turn to go in but towards the stores.
Yeah, 30 is a state route they maintain.
Right, and I don't know, I mean, I don't know if the village agrees
Yeah,
with that, and they can make.
Will gets these calls all the time. So you're talking about if you're going to go north into like either Cooper's Hawk
Yeah.
or,
such
headed east.
I can't remember the last time I actually made that. And there's been times when I was the fifth or sixth car and actually didn't make the arrow.
Yeah.
It's just very short. And I know I've seen other places, probably out of state, where an arrow goes from green to flashing yellow.
Yeah.
So you turn at your own risk.
And I can tell you that we've talked about that with the state before. For example, at Gougar and 30, if you're headed south, if you're headed west and you're going to turn south on Gougar from 30, forget it, because there's always a truck or two in front of you, and you will never make that. I mean, it could take you 2 or 3 cycles to get through
Right.
there. And we had brought up before the idea of that, yield on left turn, but the state didn't want anything to do with it, right? And I know the tracks are over there too, but.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Gougar's a little different with the track. So that
Right.
one has dual lefts going into Target. So typically in the state, Illinois, dual lefts are a protected turn. So even though there's only one going the other way for now, like you get, insert whatever word you want here, and you have to wait for a dedicated left arrow. But at the same time, those get out of whack every once in a while. So I'll reach out to the maintenance guys that do that for the.
Still or whoever.
Yes, so.
The frustrating part is when you're sitting there and you've missed it, and there's no
Yeah.
traffic approaching you, none at all. Because it's like 6 o'clock at night, or
Yeah.
it's not a busy time, and you're like, oh, I gotta sit here.
Don't smoke it. The police are out there.
No, I haven't done
That
it.
problem.
Actually-
If you think that mailbox was expensive, wait till you get that ticket.
I'm not, sometimes I'm not a doctor because I would have no patience. But I do understand that. I don't do that stuff.
Well, Will is right. There are times, and we've seen that before, where something happens and it's shortened because of some malfunction. I don't know that that's the case.
Or it's just not a long arrow to begin with, and you could be approaching it, it's got a long left turn lane
Yeah.
there, and you could be approaching it, all right, it's gonna come out. You cannot make it up there and make that arrow.
Yeah, no.
There's no way, it's
And then-
impossible.
And then the cycle is really long because
Everybody gets
the
a
ones that
turn.
are coming out of Cooper's Hawk to go back out onto 30 or go across into Target, that's its own separate cycle. So, I mean, it's
And
kind of a
actually,
rough one.
that one, leaving Cooper's Hawk, I've been there, and the arrow, I'm sitting at that arrow 3 cycles, and that arrow doesn't go on if I'm the only one sitting there waiting for that arrow. I frequent Cooper's Hawk quite a bit, so I've actually sat at that arrow.
Probably weren't on the center, probably over the line.
I-
Watch you, Galuza, how you're driving.
It depends on your timing as well.
Yeah, it does. If you get, believe.
you get there a little too late, it won't
We could
sense-
talk about this all, but
I
I
know.
come up Gougar South to Route 6. I mean, that's a major road, Gougar Road, and if I don't get there and the northbound Gougar gets the green light, I don't get the green light at all. I mean, it doesn't even go green at all. You don't even get a green light, which is crazy because it's Gougar Road. And I'm like you thinking, oh my God, I better get up there or I'm gonna sit through a whole Route 6 cycle again. So, and for the one that you talked about, Will can check to see if it is how it is. But to be perfectly candid with you, if it's functioning in a way that the state has it set, I doubt very seriously.
I just wanted to
they'll
bring
change
up that issue about
Yeah,
the
no.
flashing yellow, because I've seen it so many other places going, oh, I missed it, and all of a sudden, oh, look, I can go.
Right.
You know, and it's
Right.
only gonna get more fun when Pete's Market opens up.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
More people going in, more people going out.
Yeah. Well, and I think they may look at,
Yeah, once that
as
opens.
that develops, it could change
Yeah.
how that patterns. But yeah, no, we appreciate that.
And I'm just glad my wife has more patience than me, that she waits even when she's running late for work. Well, thank you, Mayor.
Well, thank you for coming. We're glad that you're
Okay,
here. We hope
I enjoy doing this. I mean, just coming and listening.
Yeah.
You know, I find out more things, and I was glad to hear about I read about the overpass.
Yeah.
On Gougar, and
Yeah.
I like that improvement.
Well, I have to tell you, we really wish more people would come and listen to what's happening here because we've got a lot of great things happening and it's the best way to keep people informed. So we appreciate you being here tonight.
Well, I came mostly because I had a question, but I also like to come once in a while because
Yeah.
I'm nosy.
Well, can I tell you? God rest Bill Walter's soul, but we had a resident who lived to be, how old was Bill when he passed?
92, sir.
92. He was here almost every single meeting, and good for him. So we'd love to have you here.
Okay.
All right?
Well, I know our residences in Grand Prairie are very happy with everything.
It's a great subdivision.
You know, and it is. I enjoy living there. I've had more interaction with my neighbors in the 7 years. I'll go back to the first 2 years than I did living on 64th Street in Chicago for 36 years.
64th, and where were you?
64th and actually Austin.
Okay, I was 64th in Kenneth for a while.
And where?
Kenneth, St. Mary's.
Okay.
over, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm glad to be out here.
Good.
You don't realize how tight everything is until you move and get somewhere else.
That's right.
I keep telling my friends, you've got to come this direction.
Well, we're
I said,
glad
once
to-
you get out of Chicago and Cook County, it's like a breath of fresh air. You don't have to leave Illinois.
That's right. It's much
You know, you
different.
just get further away. But anyway, thank you very
Well,
much.
thank you for coming here tonight. You got anything for us? No? All right. Trustee comments? Trustee Scalise.
You know, we lost our mailbox over this year by Amazon, and that's about $350 what we paid as well, and they had to dig the hole, so I can understand the cost on that.
Good. Well, that's good. Yeah, that's good. So we'll have a look at that and see. That's great. Trustee Galuzzi.
I got nothing.
All right, thank you. Trustee Christopherson.
Just bringing up our exceptional employees of the village, the police department, and of course our fire department. Just wanted to, give another testimony. I know we talk about the police department, they're phenomenal. Our fire department as well. I work more with that side of things in my day job. And just today, we had a incident that happened, and they had to be on scene, and just phenomenal communication leading up to and during, and I've been at Central for 15 years now, seen them come and go. They've always been another second to none
Yeah.
company in our community. So I
No
just
doubt.
wanted to say a shout out to Mike who made it to the end here, and just thanks for all you guys do.
Appreciate it. And they have much nicer lazy boys than they do over at the police department. I always have to give the hose pullers a little shot, that's all right. Trustee Mattson.
Well, my mailbox got wiped out, but it wasn't from our public works. It was from a delivery vehicle, I would imagine, but Gorilla Tape works wonders.
How much did that cost?
Very good. Trustee Reiser.
My mailbox is fine so far. Just want to echo a couple of things you said, Mayor, as well as you, Katie. But first, the blue sheets, not only do we want the recommendations, Kurt, and from the rest of the staff, we need them, and we
Yeah.
appreciate the hard work you do.
Yeah, for sure.
And then, I saw the press release from the police department a couple hours ago, and I had a chance to sit on the police commission and got to experience the professionalism over there, and just very cool that they do such a great job.
Absolutely.
Just wanted to throw that out there.
And I'll just tell you, be grateful you have a mailbox, because I live in a subdivision now that has the universal mailbox where everybody has to get their mail and everyone
That's
wants
what
to.
I got.
Yeah, and no good. No good at
We
all.
get that one.
You're gonna need more than your snowplow to knock that out. All right, we have no need for executive session tonight, so if there's nothing further, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by trustee Mattson, second by trustee Scalise. All those in favor signify by a voice vote of aye.
Aye.
Opposed, meeting adjourned.